Haidakhan Babaji, Master of Masters. If you don't know about Haidakhan Babaji, then it's about time you finally learn. Many people believe this great Indian sadhu was God incarnated into human form. In this video, I'm going to tell you about Babaji's life, his mission, and my thoughts. Now, many people believe Babaji is the spirit of God and able to incarnate into any human body he chooses to manifest at any time. Most of the sightings of Babaji from Autobiography of a Yogi took place in the 1800s. Since that time, until Haidakhan Babaji's presence, no clear documentation of Babaji in physical form had been substantiated. Then, in June 1970, in the cave at the foot of Kumaon Mount Kailash, appeared a youth between the ages of 18 and 20. The cave the youth appeared from is spoken of in the Vedas as a dwelling place of the divine. For the remainder of this video, I will refer to Haidakhan Babaji as just Babaji for the sake of clarity. The youth had no birth record or known family, and nobody from the area remembers seeing him before he appeared. Babaji could quote Sanskrit scriptures from memory and live with little to no food for 3 years at a time. Now, before you scoff at such a feat, you must realize that many ascended masters have come out of India. It has historically been the one place on earth that has produced the most holy and fully realized beings by far. Why is it so? I am not sure, but it could be that perhaps the land was blessed early in its history, and after all, it is the country that produced Hinduism and Buddhism. Being that many sadhus, mystics, and saints are and always have been in India, the people there would have clearly recognized Babaji as one of them, at least at first. And then when they came to see more of his powers, some realized that this could be the Babaji that had incarnated through the centuries into various bodies, as was told in Autobiography of a Yogi and even in the scriptures. This Haidakhan Babaji would move into deep meditative trances for up to 45 days, radiating pure bliss and wisdom. Some of the people there said he wouldn't move, eat, talk, or even use the bathroom for the entire 45 days. Babaji had spiritual powers and could heal the sick, predict the future, read minds, and bring people into relationship with the divine. Soon after Babaji materialized, stories of his appearance spread quickly, and many came to be his devotees, which is quite common in India. Those who came to him say they were summoned in visions, dreams, and by synchronistic events. Often Babaji would materialize right in front of an individual, requesting they come to his side at the ashram in Haidakhan. His followers included a wide range of ages and races, with many Western devotees as well. I was not alive during this time, but if I was, I surely would have made the journey to be with Babaji at his ashram. The best I can do now is watch video of the master, and thankfully there is a lot of footage of him interacting with his devotees, meditating, and just being his playful self. When I feel the need, I'll play these videos, and I'll often read about him in some of the various books I have. I view Babaji similarly to how Christians view Jesus. I mean, that's just me. But I've felt this way ever since learning of both Mahavatar Babaji and Haidakhan Babaji back in the 1990s. According to the people at his ashram, devotees and visitors would bathe in the river, meditate, and practice karma yoga until sunset. Most days, Babaji rarely spoke, except for a few words in the morning and evening for arati, which is a spiritual service. Babaji said, "To follow and demonstrate the path of truth, simplicity, and love is man's supreme duty and the highest yoga. Diligent work is a quality of this path, and laziness is devoid of life on earth. Only by work can one claim victory over karma. All must strive to do their duty in the best way possible and not wander from that duty. Service to humanity is the first duty. During these current times, inhumanity and laziness have increased, so it is important that you work hard and not lose heart. Be brave, be industrious, work hard, and have courage." Babaji spoke these words 40 years ago. It's amazing how relevant his message is today. Babaji led his devotees by example. He would help serve food, wash the dishes, and be of service however he could. He was known to stay up all night meditating and was said to have boundless energy, even when he would go days without eating. He loved all who came to him and accepted all his followers where they were in their spiritual journeys. However, he demanded unshakable faith from his devotees. He wanted each person to keep their mind on God and love, and if a devotee was not doing their best to hold God in their awareness, he would ask them to leave the ashram. This demand for unshakable faith is a trait that was also present in Mahavatar Babaji. In a story from Autobiography of a Yogi, a male devotee sought out Babaji and said he would do anything to be with him. The master instructed the devotee to jump off a cliff right then, which would have certainly led to his demise. The faithful devotee flung himself off the cliff, only to be saved by Babaji, who then took the man into his small group. As with all gurus, Haidakhan Babaji made statements and assigned tasks which were intended for specific individuals in order to trigger spiritual growth in them. This is similar to the Zen master contradicting himself and assigning odd tasks to his disciples in order to move them closer to enlightenment. Babaji, similar to the Zen master, would at a later time encourage the devotee to do the exact opposite of what he told them in the past. Sometimes these lessons could seem harsh, but often followers would come to a deep epiphany from the challenging teachings. Spiritual enlightenment is not as easy as some people think. Babaji once sent a Western devotee home because they had lost faith. Babaji said, "The sun and the moon can move from their course, but the faith of the devotee should not be shaken. A true devotee will be ready to shed their life for God and will have faith to his last breath." Babaji could be the compassionate Shiva and also be the harsh teacher, bringing people to fully experience their limitations and their emotional limits. Babaji states, "The path of God realization is a most difficult one. Few are those who walk it. It is as difficult as walking on the edge of a razor." Indeed, I do believe the spiritual path is one of the most difficult to tread for anyone in any country. It means having indomitable faith, even in the face of terrible adversity. It also includes great sacrifice, going against your base instincts for food, sex, and power. But if one does decide to walk on the spiritual path and become a devotee, Babaji has the right advice. He says, to keep the mind focused on God, one should repeat a mantra continuously. Om Namah Shivaya is the great original mantra. It is one with the primal sound of creation. Om Namah Shivaya means I take refuge in God, or I surrender to you, Lord. Babaji said this mantra is infinite and stronger than all the atomic bombs of the world. It is one that we perhaps should all use in our own lives. Babaji believed in order for devotees to ascend, they needed to break the cycle of karma through selfless action and awareness focused on God. To do that, they would need to reach beyond their limitations. Of karma, Babaji had some poignant advice on how to stop it. Karma is an inevitable law of cause and effect by which all living beings reap the fruits of their actions and thoughts. The law of karma is above all things. Karma starts when movement starts in the mind. To stop karma, we must bring the mind to that state of silence and voidness, beyond which God can be known. Otherwise, as long as a man breathes, he is creating karma. No one can remain without action, even for a minute. Therefore, learn how to dedicate your every action to the Lord. Sage advice from the Master. You may be wondering what a typical day at Babaji's ashram looked like. Well, I'll tell you. Babaji would typically start his day around 3 a.m. with a bath, often in the cold Gautama Ganga River. This was usually followed by meditation or a fire ceremony. Around 5 a.m., he would see his devotees for ceremonial Shandan, which is placing a mark on the forehead. This was followed by morning arati or devotional singing, which commenced around 6 a.m. From then until noon, the devotees would engage in some form of karma yoga. At noon, the only meal of the day was served, which was followed by more karma yoga in the afternoon. Sometimes an elaborate ceremony, such as Havan, would be performed around noontime. Havan is a fire ceremony common in Hinduism. In the afternoon, Babaji would sometimes see the devotees for individual audiences, known as darshan. Then there would be another bath, followed by the evening arati. After the evening arati, Babaji sometimes gave short speeches that were recorded in the teachings of Babaji, a short book that can actually be found on Amazon now. This was the daily routine of ashram life when Babaji was present. If I could go back in time, I would have spent a lot of my time with Babaji at that ashram. But his time there would be too brief. On February 14th, 1984, Valentine's Day, Haidakhan Babaji intentionally left his body by stopping his heart. Before he did, he stated, "This body is nothing. It is here only to serve the people." This statement correlates with what all the great masters knew, that the body is nothing more than a temporary vehicle for the spirit and has little importance otherwise. Indeed, such masters as Babaji can manifest a new physical body wherever and whenever they see fit. According to his followers, Babaji's body did not decay after it expired. It was physiologically in the same state from the day he died to the day he was buried at the ashram. Some of the people present at his burial said after his body was covered by a foot of dirt, it suddenly fell in. This to me implies that Babaji dematerialized his body during the burial. Babaji's legend grew after his Masamadhi, and more than several books were written about him. The great master's impact oscillated well beyond his ashram, spreading out to all the continents of the world. Babaji's ability to lift his devotees to transcendent heights and revive karmic yoga was his extraordinary gift to the world. Although he is no longer in a physical body, at least that we can recognize, we can still communicate with Babaji through our thoughts. Just like some Christians have claimed to have a personal relationship with Jesus, I feel the same can be done with Babaji. All you need do is think of him, and the Master will make himself felt. If he is truly God in human form, I am certain he shall take on another body, and when he does, I will find him and take my rightful place at his side. If you enjoyed this video on Haidakhan Babaji, please give it a like and subscribe to be notified of future videos from me.